Hi there, welcome back. We're discussing now the post-COVID consequences for time challenges and cultural differences. First we go into time. I think COVID changed a lot over there. A few things. First of all is of course that the time challenges are much more commonplace than they were before. Many people worked from home, but also went to offshore or remote locations. Some people went to holiday locations for working at home. So what you see, let's say that the time challenges, the time differences are much more accepted and they are democratized. What I mean is that pre-COVID, in many cases, we expected from offshore or nearshore locations to adapt their times to us. And now we see, because of democratization of time, we see much more looking for times outside the office hours, also on customer locations and stuff like this. Has to do with something else, but I think, it's much more on the even levels where we meet instead of the remote locations adjusting to us, because time differences are more commonplace. It also involved and improved what I would say time literacy. When you can't read it, you're illiterate, but if you don't know the times from others, you would be time illiterate. So what you've seen, that thanks to the working from home and the remote locations and everybody was there, the time literacy went up. See for yourself. Do you know time zones now better than before? If you talk to somebody in the US with the different time zones, do you know much easier what the time differences is? And do you also, when planning meetings, keep in mind these time differences? And are you, when you look to yourself, also more willing to either work early in the day or work later in the day to match somebody else's time? You decide for yourself. But of course, the north-south differences will still remain easier, also post-COVID, than the east-west. Around Carmel's scatter time, you remember the way that you see, people scatter their work time over the day. So they start early, do some work, go take care of their kids, do some sports, work something, have lunch, go sport. It's more scattered over the day is for many people now the default practice. We have been teaching it, we have been educating, we've been communicating it, but COVID really made the change. Because when you have your kids at home and you have to take daycare or day school with your kids, the only way to do your work then is scatter time. So instead of seeing it as one option to deal with time, and for some people seeing it as a no-go, scatter time is now in many cases the best solution and the defaulted practice. To be even more honest, I think the 9 to 5 office hours for GDSE no longer exist. Due to COVID and the work from home and all the communications, scatter time has become the default, and 9 to 5, it's not there anymore. If we look to cultural differences, it is also something that happened. I think because of COVID, we started to appreciate cultural differences even more. I'm not sure how it was with you, but I have been in many meetings where a part of the agenda has been a tour through the house. I have been in introductions with people in China, with people in Australia, with people in India, where, let's say, we actually walked through their house. And it gave you an insight in their private lives. And it also showed some stuff that you didn't know. Some of my colleagues actually live with their parents and their grandparents in the same house. Never knew this. So I think the cultural differences, because of understanding each other, being interested in each other, seeing how people live, I think are even more appreciated and also even more recognized. And I think that made a major step. Of course, cultural challenges can still happen. But I think in general what happened from the remote working, especially the working from home, that we started to look more on individual preferences. Some people had the opportunity to work from home, but others hadn't. And we've solved those. Some people had the kids in the house, so they liked scatter time or out of office meetings, but the others didn't. So we've seen that, let's say, the individual preferences became more dominant in arranging stuffs. And I think that's the best, because, individual preferences are also part of culture types. So I think cultural differences have become less dominant and also been less framed as cultural differences, because they were just individual differences. Sometimes coming from a backyard culture, sometimes from the capability of home, sometimes because people are different anyway. And I think that made a major step. Because I think the care for the individual and their needs is most important, whether a culture wants or not. And I think because of that, the cultural differences have become less problematic, though, of course, they can still be there. So that's the end. It's the end of Unit 6. It's the end of the post-COVID reflections on the MOOC. I hope you enjoyed it. See you later.